Good morning. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. I'm Barry Bryson, and we're continuing our study entitled Kings and Emperors. And today we're going to talk about King Herod Agrippa II. I think an altogether sympathetic individual, especially as Herods go, which is not a very high bar, is it? Most of the despots living in the world today would be thought of as a pretty good Herod. Anyway, Herod Agrippa II is the son of Herod Agrippa I, we talked about last time. And he was raised with his three sisters, Bernice, Mariamne, and Drusilla, in Rome. And we talked about that earlier as well, how these children will be raised in Rome and how that was advantageous for both Rome and for the Herodian dynasty itself. Of all the Herods who ruled the Jews, he was the one who really took himself seriously as a Jew. Now, he dressed as a Roman, lived as a Roman. He was one of the most popular people in the power circles in Rome, one of the best educated, but he took being a Jew quite seriously. He could read Hebrew. He studied, he learned the Old Testament, the Mosaic Law, what we think of as the Old Testament, the Mosaic Law. And he's the one Paul encounters in Acts chapter 26. He really took seriously his role as the interface between the Roman Empire and the Jewish people. And he really, really wanted for things to go well. He believed in the power of the empire. He believed in the Pax Romana, the peace of Rome that everyone was enjoying. And he also was thankful that they had all these legal protections from the Senate just to be Jews and to worship their religion undisturbed. And the prosperity that they had achieved because of because of Roman rule and the peace of Rome. However, he was swimming against the current. He was trying to swim upstream because the current of Jewish thought, if you were not a Sadducee or a Herodian, was that the Romans have got to go. They're an invasion force. They keep taxes high. They treat us just practically day by day like we're not worthy of their presence. They've got to go. Unfortunately, Agrippa was doomed to fail in his mission to try to bring these two worlds together, which when we meet him in Acts 26 and he meets the Apostle Paul, these two men, you know there was a connection immediately between the two of them, even though one was a working class kid from Tarsus, and the other was royalty raised in Rome, because they had both tried to bridge the same two cultures in their lives. And they both took seriously their responsibility to both. And so when Paul looks him in the eye and says, "Do you believe the prophets? I know you do." There's sympathy there. There's empathy there. There's connection there. And these men respect each other. That's why Paul gets this close to reaching him. He didn't have any children. If he had a love in his life, it was his own sister Drusilla. Now, whether the talk, and there was plenty of first century chatter about their relationship, was true or not, I don't know. But she was his travel companion, his partner in life for much of his time as the ruler of the Jews. Although she had other husbands, I think four other husbands, not her brother, but the two of them, are connected through most of the history we know about. This is reported either in the New Testament or from Roman historians. Their other sister, Drusilla, was married to Felix, and so they were brothers-in-law. So that's pretty interesting. Everything that he was trying to accomplish in his life fell apart in the AD 60s when the Jewish rebellion began in AD 67, AD 66, I should say. He flees. He sees it happening, and he has to flee Jerusalem. And at that point, Rome is at war with the Jews. And at that point, Jerusalem is going to be destroyed. And he really has no role whatsoever. He's not seen as unpatriotic, as disloyal to the Romans at all. Not at all. But the Jews themselves as a people are completely discredited, and he has no role to play. And so he pretty much just disappears from the historical record, and we don't know what happened to him. His sister, Bernice, excuse me, whom we do know is one of the beauties of her age, one of the great cultivated women of her age, evidently fell in love with Titus, the Roman general Titus, the Roman general who destroyed the city of Jerusalem, by the way. And they were together for quite a long while. But when Titus became emperor, because the Jews themselves had been so completely discredited, he was not allowed to have her as a wife, and therefore she is sent away. She is not banished, but she's dismissed from his presence, from his household, and she ends up essentially disappearing from the historical record as well. I have a great deal of sympathy and affection for Agrippa II, and I think we all do. At that moment in Acts 26 is kind of the climax of the whole book. It's this electric moment between this powerful man who represents, this person who has faced, the two worlds and tried to accommodate them together, and then this other man who at one point was in that position of trying to straddle two worlds, but then found the truth of Jesus Christ. And he comes that close, but not quite. It's such an amazing event, Acts 26 is, and I wish we had time to talk more about it, but I've taken up nearly 7 minutes of your time. Next time we're together, we're going to go back in history a little bit because we're going to talk about some Roman emperors, and we're going to begin with Augustus and the Pax Romana and how it represents quite clearly the fullness of time that God talks about in the Word. We'll do that next time. Thank you for joining me for 5 good minutes with the Word.